Hi, and welcome to another edition of Newsmakers, on the air since 2014 as Santa Barbara's most popular, most awarded, and only local news analysis and commentary program. I'm Jerry Roberts. It is Friday, April 14th, 2023, and we have our all-star panel of top local journalists: Callie Fausey from the Santa Barbara Independent, Josh Molina from Newshawk, and we are awaiting imminently the arrival of Nick Welsh, executive editor of the Independent. Josh, let me start with you, because I understand you've set a world record that you have the #1 read piece on Newshawk 2 weeks in a row, which is pretty good, which is Oprah's water grab. Apparently, Oprah, who lives in the fashionable Ennisbrook neighborhood, has had a boulder wall constructed on San Ysidro Creek. And what's the issue? What's the concern?
Well, Jerry, I have not worked this hard in years. I've not put 4 hours of work into a story like this one in a long time.
You probably shouldn't say that on the air, but go ahead.
Well, what I mean, it was like a week's work into
Yeah.
one daily is what I mean. So Oprah Winfrey lives in the Ennisbrook neighborhood of Montecito. And after the January 9, 2023 storms, a lot of people experienced damage from the water flow to their yards from overflow in the creek. Obviously, it's not nearly as bad as it was 5 years ago, but it was still bad, and people experienced some damage because the creeks were eroded. So in that context, apparently somebody who manages Oprah's property contracted with a Carpinteria nursery to build a rock wall to help stabilize the creek bank next to Oprah Winfrey's house. They got a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers to build a like-for-like repair, and it's under the aspect of an emergency repair is needed to protect property from the creek bank erosion. So the problem there is like for like. Nobody knows what was there before, but it wasn't more than 100 large boulders stuffed into the dirt right next to her property to protect any future creek erosion or any big storm water from possibly affecting her property. So this happened, and the neighbors, the residents of Ennisbrook, were very upset because apparently if you reroute water, it has impacts downstream. And so there are people who are saying, wait a minute, you put this rock wall, this is nothing like what was there before, and now you're affecting all the other properties because you're redirecting water in a major storm right into our properties and our yards. So there's a big brouhaha, big deal. Montecito Association got involved, and it all culminated with a big meeting with the Montecito Association, Santa Barbara County, some inspectors, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, neighbors, and they all met and they all looked at the boulder wall and said, that boulder wall does not look like it's going to stand in a major storm event. And so everything started to unravel from there. And so I did a story that basically put all that together, but talking to Army Corps of Engineers, Fish and Wildlife, Montecito homeowners who are very protective of their perspective and very concerned about Oprah getting mad at them, having to navigate all of this information when there's multiple jurisdictions that have approval of the various things that can happen in creeks. So a lot of people were sort of pointing the finger and saying, oh, well, this should have happened, that should have happened, this agency should have done this should have done this. In the meantime, there's a huge rock wall protecting Oprah Winfrey's property from any major storm or creek bank erosion, and nobody sort of knows what the outcome here is going to be.
Yeah. So who's the decision maker here? The county who gave the permit?
So the Army Corps of Engineers gives emergency permits during these types of events, basically to protect your property. And the idea is that you can, make it like it was before. Okay. I saw the permit application. I saw the approval by Army
You
Corps.
saw a video too of the thing being installed, as I
Yeah, and I saw a video of these big boulders being lowered from Oprah Winfrey's property. And so they gave approval for like, but the idea is this is an emergency, so let's get it done right now. There, you have to get approval from Fish and Wildlife to have a longer term solution. What they built was not a quick like for like. What they built was a massive rock wall. And so Fish and Wildlife needs to approve that. Santa Barbara County needs to approve that. And so that's what's going on, that there's no follow up. And meanwhile, this is a problem that's going on all over the place. It is most high profile because of Oprah and the size of her rock wall, but private property owners throughout Montecito, even throughout California, are doing what they can to stabilize the creek bank to protect water from going onto their property. And so Army Corps of Engineers is deluged with application requests. So
yeah.
a lot of people are concerned about this. The challenge to this story, Jerry, was the fact that nobody wants to offend Oprah Winfrey.
Well, that's an interesting point. Now, Callie, you're from Santa Barbara. You born, raised, go once a Don, always a Don, all that sort of thing. Oprah has lived here, I don't know, since before I came 20 years ago, well before that. Can you name one thing that Oprah has ever done for Santa Barbara County or city in a philanthropic, eleemosynary or otherwise? You know, she had something to do with somebody's wedding. I can't remember whose wedding it was up there, and probably helped Kim Kardashian too. But I'm unaware of anything. Have you ever heard of anything Oprah's done positive in the community?
No, at least I've never ever seen, news coverage of her doing anything for the community. So
yeah, and I'm not afraid of offending Oprah, obviously, but I think that's probably, Josh, some of the attitude, because I've talked to people who are neighbors of hers, not about this, but previously about things when she was digging wells up there and other stuff. And I think she really gives off, the vibe that, I'm more important than everybody. I'm not part of the community. Whatever I want to do, I can do. And I think that's coming back to bite her on this.
I will say, I think I recall vaguely in my memory her doing something with Girls Inc.
Oh yeah, maybe 1 year. You're right.
Something I remember.
Yeah.
But so what I heard from a lot of the people in Montecito is exactly what you said, Jerry, is that here's this, one of the most famous people in the world, one of the wealthiest, and she's not really part of the community in a way that she could be. And there's a feeling from some of the residents that this was done very quickly because she felt like she can. Now, I will say this. I did talk to the landscape company who built the rock wall, and they were just doing what they were told. They were hired to do a job, and they got the permit from the Army Corps of Engineers, and they built the rock wall. So they've been very frustrated, Jimenez Nursery, with this whole situation.
Yeah, I wonder if she paid him yet.
Yeah. Because
we know people like that around here who don't pay their bills for contractors.
Yes. So that was part of it too.
Go ahead.
Did Ellen DeGeneres, when she was living here, did she ever do anything for the local community, Santa Barbara?
No, after the debris flow, she did have some local people on. I remember Doss went on the show. I think Pat McElroy might have gone on the show too. And
Wow.
certainly Rob Lowe, to sort of bring attention to it. And she did that. But basically all she does is flip properties, as far as I can tell. The Montecito Journal's magazine, Riv magazine, has a piece about that out right now. All right. So we don't know what's going to happen. The other thing this raises is, of course, the most enormously complex policy issue imaginable, which is riparian rights in California. and who has them and who has pre-existing ones. And I suppose that'll come into play at some point too. So we don't know what's going to happen, right?
I mean, I think so. There are a couple of things. So they found this boulder wall, but also Fish and Wildlife found another boulder wall in the stream set in concrete, which is clearly unpermitted. So they're concerned about that one as well. What they were going to do was inspect it and decide if it needed to be torn down and redone or if it just needed to be reinforced. But Fish and Wildlife needs to figure out, is this thing going to stand in a storm, and what impact does it have on other people's properties downstream? So that's what's happening right now, is a retroactive inspection of whether this thing is actually going to work. And I know that the residents, the neighbors are very upset, but they also are worried that if they come out too strong against it, Oprah Winfrey will somehow be even less involved in the community. You know, she's a high-profile celebrity. So
Yeah,
that's
I'm
the
sure
deal.
nobody wants to get into litigation with Oprah.
Jerry, you will though. You
Oh,
have no fear.
Sure, yeah. All right, Josh, great scoop, and we'll look forward to where that one goes. Callie, so one thing that we can count on, storms and floods. We can also count on Santa Barbara City College looking for a new superintendent president, because I think you pointed out in your story that there have been 5 since 2019, which is an average of 1 a year. Now they went out, they had this big search. They picked 3 finalists who were subjected to hearing from everybody. And now they say, well, we're going to keep looking. What's going on there?
Yeah, so basically the SBCC Board of Trustees wants to do their due diligence in looking for a new superintendent, most likely because they want someone who will stay there long term. And the top 3 finalists that were chosen in March and announced that month were chosen by the processing, like the selection committee. And so the Board of Trustees, other than the 2 Board of Trustees members who were on the selection committee, didn't know anything about the candidates before they were chosen as the top 3 finalists. So once they went through the process of board interviews and public forums, they decided to extend the process and reopen applications.
Yeah, I know our friend Jonathan Aboud, who's the chair of the trustees, used that phrase due diligence, but that's most often applied, when you have someone and you want to go check them. It's not, we got these 3 people and so we're going to go look for some more. I think he's misusing that phrase, but be that as it may. So either, Henry, stop. Either they didn't like anybody that they had, or they picked somebody who withdrew, or they have somebody else in mind. I wonder, it seems to me the high on their priority list of the trustees is to get a bond issue passed. As you recall, there was a bond issue a couple of years ago that really flopped. And so I wonder if they want somebody local. Have you heard anything of that nature, or what it is about these 3 candidates they don't like?
I have gotten some, after I initially posted or wrote about the 3 finalists when they first announced them, I did get some tips about some of the finalists saying it was basically just dirt on them. Erica, I think her name is Erica Endry Jonas, had some votes of no confidence at Pasadena College previously because of her leadership during COVID. And
she used to be here. She used to be at City College, as I recall. I think she went to Pasadena from here. But
oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I heard that about her. But Jonathan said that they couldn't discuss their closed sessions discussions. So you couldn't touch on that. So
Yeah, I mean, it was such an elaborate process. And what, they had like 100 people from the community participate in these Zoom interviews and ask questions and make these people jump over all these hoops. It's kind of, it's like, yes, we have no bananas to reopen it. So what happens next? What's the deadline?
So the deadline for applications is April 16th, and they said they hope to have someone appointed by spring graduation, so around May 19th, or at least a top candidate by May 19th. And their start date will be July 1st, on or before. So
yeah, Josh, let me try out a conspiracy theory on you. What if it's the case, and I'm just speculating here, that a large number of the trustees, with this bond issue and passing it and the political problems inherent in that, have decided that the person they want is Jeff Green, the widely known silent auction MC and also head of the Santa Barbara City College Foundation. That would make sense, wouldn't it? Can you see Jeff in that position?
Well, Jeff Green walks on water. He's an all-around great guy. I've never heard anybody say anything remotely negative about him. And interaction with him, he's Santa Barbara dude, So I don't know about that. I do work there as a part-time instructor, so I do have a connection there. Jeff Green running that college presumably would be fantastic if that were the conspiracy theory, because he cares, he knows, he has history,
and he knows the political landscape.
And he's not looking to, do a few years and then retire. This is his home. So that's a good idea, Jerry. Maybe they'll make
all right. Remember, you heard it here first. Josh, what is the channels reported about any of this?
Well, they've reported, obviously what has happened, the search, and the fact that they didn't find a candidate that they wanted, and they're redoing the search. But pretty much that everything Kelly had said, about the same stuff.
Yeah. All right. Then we had this city planning commission hearing about a proposed hotel at the entrance to the Funk Zone, Garden Street Hotel, with 250 rooms. We talked a little bit about it last week, but Josh, I'm wondering about the way that some of the planning commissioners treated the applicant. And I have family members who've been through this, who've just been treated very, very rudely by some of these citizen, appointed commissions. And I found some of the comments from some of them to be quite rude, as if they were part of some military junta or something. This guy has got a specific plan, right? I mean, it was awarded in 1983. To build the hotel. And he donated 2.5 acres of land that opened up the Funk Zone. And you get these people saying, what is the benefit for us? What do you mean it doesn't pencil out? All of this rude stuff. I name no names, Lucille, Roxana, and Devin, but what's going on there? What's that about?
Well, Brian Cornell, who is the architect to the stars, he gets everything done in Santa Barbara. He lost it during this meeting,
which is really unusual for Brian. Brian is like Mr. Cool.
So they want to build 250 hotels. The Wright family has owned this property forever. They have a specific plan to do hotel or housing. They've been through different incarnations. They had a hotel project originally, then they had a condo project. And now they're back with a hotel project. And these newer commissioners, because no disrespect to anyone, I know I'm going to hear it for this. One of the weaknesses that we have in this community is a lack of historical knowledge. And everybody thinks they're the ones on these design boards, the first idea to ever think of this thing. And it's not true. These things have been vetted over and over and over by multiple people in those same seats before. So the new thing of the day is we don't need hotels, we need housing. Okay. So why don't you think about, can you build housing at that site? First of all, any housing at that site is going to be ridiculously unaffordable, and it's not going to serve the people who need housing in Santa Barbara. It's going to serve the wealthiest of the most wealthy. The other thing is the Coastal Act says that we need accommodations for people to be able to access the ocean, and that means visitor services. So a hotel that allows people to be near is a good thing from a Coastal Act perspective. They told Brian Cornell to come up with a housing study for how these 250 rooms will impact the overall housing market in the city. And Cornell said, why? What would that do? Like, how would we ever know what impact that would have on housing? So he kind of lost it. They also, I think it may have been Wardlow, one of them said, what is the occupancy rate of our hotels? And if they're not implying, if they're not full right now, then do we need more hotels? And Cornell came back with, any studies can include all those COVID numbers. And obviously he said, so what, 60%, 70%? What does that mean? That means we can't build more hotels. So this was a back and forth meeting. Obviously we need housing. They pushed. The developer, Sean Gilbert, said, if we have to reduce this from 250 to 200 rooms, it's not going to pencil out. We're not going to have anything there. So the compromise was, can you come up with a plan that has some employee housing at the site? So that's where they're at. But what did Cornell say? We're going to have to go higher. There's going to be some kind of trade-off there. So it was a fascinating meeting because it was as though the housing conversation, which is obviously hugely important and we need more housing, was being wedged into this other plan. And the other thing that has been happening is that some members of the Planning Commission, and we saw this come up with the Joint Planning Commission meeting when Devin Wardlow and Cass Ensberg and Ed Lenvik were kind of clashing over State Street, is there's this ageism that's going on. And Devin Wardlow said it again, this implication of, that was then, this is now, and we need to do this. And so, yes, obviously we need housing now, but there's a history there that needs to be recognized and honored. And if the right family have invested in this specific plan and this project, and they have a reasonable expectation to build hotels there, that's something that is worthy of some merit.
And plus, it took them 2 years to go through the permit process for this. Now they want them to go back to square one and start. I think the dumbest comment of all was, what is the benefit to the city? Duh. What is the TOT tax? I mean, this is the golden goose here, or the goose that laid the golden, whatever. I mean, this is our business, or a large part of the economy of Santa Barbara, in case nobody's noticed, tourism. So, and plus the 2.5 acres, the whole thing just really infuriated me. And I would just make a plea to people who are appointed these commissions. Nobody elected you to anything. Okay. You got appointed because you have some political connection. Be civil, be courteous. The people who come before you are citizens. They're your neighbors. Lay off. All right. Enough of that.
That's like Josh Molina coming through Jerry Roberts right there. I think I've affected
this
you
one
now.
really. This one really. All right, Callie. Interesting times at the Santa Barbara Unified School District. I guess a lot of teachers showed up somewhat unexpectedly to the meeting, and we're on the brink of starting contract negotiations, and they're making it clear they're expecting a substantial raise. What's the situation there?
Yeah, I was even surprised to see the boardroom just full of SBUSD educators and supporters with signs asking for more pay, less or smaller classroom sizes, lower caseloads for special education teachers. These teachers, their main point was basically they feel undervalued by the school district, and they can't do their jobs if they're overworked and underpaid.
And also, I guess the other issue is kind of COVID related, that a lot of teachers have left, right? I mean, that there's a lot of vacancies, and they're attributing that to the cost of housing.
Yeah, so that's part of it. Is teachers come in, they work here for a year or two, and then they just decide it's not worth it. They're not being paid enough to afford to live here comfortably, and they leave.
Yeah. I mean, it's really a tough situation. I think, Josh, am I correct that the district's budget is kind of tight, or even in the red now? I mean, we're talking about having to cut things in order to give a substantial raise, or a raise that would make a dent, at least in terms of housing. It's I don't know where that's going to go. How militant did the teachers sound? Because we just had this situation, of course, in LA, the Unified School District there, where they staged a 3-day walkout, and with more promise to come. Where did it sound like pay us or else, or did it sound like they were appreciative of some of the financial strains that the district has?
It sounded like they were appreciative of the effort that this district has made so far, and like the small salary raises over the 3-year agreement that they previously made in the 2021 to 2024 contract negotiations, and the December stipend that the board voted to give them. I think it was $2,000. But it was like, we appreciate this, but we need more. It sounded to me less militant, like you said, and more of just a plea of, we want to stay in Santa Barbara, and we care about teaching in Santa Barbara, and we care about these students, but we can't stay here if we can't afford to live here.
Yeah.
Kelly, was there more of a representation from certain schools in the room? Like, was a Santa Barbara High or a San Marcos? Could you tell if there was like a more vocal group from one of the schools there?
I think there were more representatives from Santa Barbara High. That's kind of the gist I got, but there were some people from like La Colina Junior High, some people from San Marcos, but seemed to be more leaning towards Santa Barbara.
Yeah, it's interesting you raised that question, Josh, because it was just about a year ago when a large number of teachers, many of them from Dos Pueblos High, were out in the street and also in the boardroom, really mad at Superintendent Hilda Maldonado about a whole bunch of other issues, which seems to have settled down, at least. I mean, you can certainly understand the pay increase issue coming to a boil, but where are we with that? Do you know? Is she kind of managed that okay?
Well, I mean, I've heard more favorable comments from teachers about her. I would couch that with, I don't know anyone who's enamored with her leadership, but people who are saying she's not as bad as she was, and that they're willing to put up with her as she's trying and changing. That's kind of the tone that I've heard. I would just say, from a media perspective, from a journalism perspective here, it's very frustrating how the Santa Barbara Teachers Association conducts its protests and its strikes and its the ways they get attention, because it's always, I don't know how Callie found out. I get an email an hour before the meeting. We're going to be out there. You should show up. And that's like, we're not hanging out, sitting around waiting for press releases from people so we can go do our jobs. We're working on lots of things. And I would just say, as you made a plea to the before, if you want media attention, like, come to the media earlier and say, hey, here's some of our issues, here's some of our challenges. We're gonna be protesting. We're going to make a presence at the meeting, and give us a little bit of info. It is so frustrating as a journalist to hear we want more money and salaries and benefits, that they won't give a percentage. Like, oh, we don't want to ruin our negotiations in public. Well, then stop holding signs in front of the school district telling us to write about it, because we need something. We need something. And we're happy to write about those stories, but we need you to share with us. And it's always so controlling. Look at what happened in LA Unified with their strikes, right? Like, the LA Times did this great coverage. Like, they broke it down. They had, like, where childcare centers were going to be. I mean, there's effort there to work with the media. And I would say to the Teachers Association, you got to get Kelly in a room. You got to get Newshawk in a room and just say, hey, here's what we're working on. I don't know, Kelly, if you had any of that frustration at all, but that's what frustrates me.
A little bit. Yeah, I would love for the Santa Barbara Teachers Association to reach out to me, or have sent me, an email beforehand. I went to the board meeting to learn more about, like, their student outcomes report. I just joined early because I like to, listen to everything going on. But yeah, I wasn't even expecting there to be a protest that day, or for the SBTA to make those comments at the board meeting. So it would have been nice to know that beforehand and have, a press contact that I could ask those, like, more hard pressing questions.
Yeah, to put some more substance in it. As I live and breathe,
Yeah.
Nick Welsh has parachuted in.
Hey, I'm really sorry.
Huh?
I'm really sorry.
Oh, we're glad you made it. What did you fall off your bike, or what
I
happened?
did. I fell off my bike.
No, seriously? Not
No,
again?
no, I got sucked into an interview that was way too much fun, and I did not have my cell phone with me.
Who were you interviewing?
I can't tell you.
Oh, Josh, look out. He's got one. He's got one. All right. Well, look, we just got done talking about this Garden Street Hotel and the rudeness of the planning commissioners towards the applicant. But just to stay on the housing thing a little bit, you had a full page angry poodle column this week, in which you vented your feelings about the way that generally the county's going about trying to get this housing built, and the hypocrisy of certain people. What was the thrust of that?
I was listening to the supervisors last Thursday when they had their emergency meeting, deliberating about how they're going to intervene on behalf of the 1,000 tenants out in Isla Vista who look like they could be evicted pretty soon. And then they sort of got into the broader issue of housing in general, and Steve Lavanino and then Doss Williams both said, we can take care of the tenants here in these emergency sessions all we want, but unless we're building housing, and lots of it, we're going to be in the same hole. And, if you're really serious about this, you have to kind of go in here. And Joan Hartman, supervisor, said, well, build, baby, build is, a bit off, because, there's 18 to 23% of the units in certain communities in Santa Barbara County are occupied by, second homeowners who leave them vacant a lot of times. So it's not enough to build. And then Doss Williams, your favorite supervisor, kind of said, well, if we want to, we all have to face up to our own moral hypocrisy if we want to have ethical, moral public policy, and we need to recognize this. And the environmental movement needs to take ownership for the fact that there's a housing crisis, and actually the environmental movement has made things worse for the environment, not better, which is an interesting argument, and there are some points to it. But I sort of took exception to the moral tone of his comments, and I was reflecting on the fact that 10 years earlier, when Governor Jerry Brown was eviscerating redevelopment agencies throughout the state, and Doss Williams was in the assembly cheering him on, he took the same moral tone of approbation towards Mayor Helene Schneider and Mayor Margaret Connell of Toledo when they said, "Hey, you're growing my ox here," you know, and so it is.
Well, that's how a lot of housing got built, right?
And
By
really,
the housing authority.
you know, redevelopment agencies have a lot of issues, and they're real issues. They're not just made up issues, but at least 20% of the redevelopment budget, and a lot more often, went for affordable housing, and it was 100% affordable, capital A affordable, not this sort of inclusionary 10 to 15%, you know, kind of sort of affordable housing that we get out of the other programs, the AUDs. And it just sort of bothered me in the moment, and I thought I needed to bring that up.
Well, and you also set forth a solution. Josh, what about that? Solution-driven journalism by Nick Welsh. Here's Nick's 3-point plan. Maybe you'll run against us.
And so part of it was like, okay, if we increase the bed tax, we charge hotel residents, that's a couple $1,000,000 a year of a reliable revenue stream that will be coming through. And our bed taxes that we charge here are 12%. And that is the lowest of the low.
And you pointed out that hasn't been revisited since the year 2000.
Since the year 2000. Now this would have to be on the ballot, and the hotel motel owners will object, and I'm sure they'll have lots of compelling reasons that I won't agree with. The other thing that I sort of bringing it back to Garden Street, you have a 4.5 acre piece of land the shape of a lamb chop out there, you know, by the waterfront, and it's zoned for housing and it's zoned for a hotel. They can do both. And at the planning commission meeting last week, I did not get the sense or the feeling that staff had really squinted hard enough at the possibility of housing there. I know the developer, for a whole lot of reasons, come on, and that the idea that the name of his company is Dauntless Development, how could we not have fun with that? Dauntless Developer. I understand this is going to mess up his plans, but from the city's point of view, that's a lot of housing you could get on that chunk of land. That's a big lamb chop, and you only get as many housing units in that lamb chop, not 5 or 6 or 7, as they sort of intimated they might at the last minute of that meeting. So I just think they need to give that one a big hairy eyeball before they say, "Oh, nothing can be done." And I don't think that hair has been shaved yet.
All right. Well, we
Can
got
I say something, Jerry?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's very disappointing to see what's happening with Doss Williams, and I'm just going to do some real talk here. I'm not one of these people who's always hated Doss. In fact, I've enjoyed covering his story over the years, but what he is doing now is shameful, and he's being a total hypocrite. And somebody close to him needs to get to him and tell him, stop doing this, because he is blaming environmentalists. He is an environmentalist. This has been his entire career. He's been an environmentalist. He championed dissolving the redevelopment agency, which was an affordable housing stream. He says the cities weren't using the money the way they should. That is nonsense. He is not telling the truth. He's trying to speak to people who just walked into the room, who are going to hear his quotes and feel like, oh, wow, what a visionary. The environmental movement's killing housing in Santa Barbara. No one has been in office longer than Doss Williams. 20 years. If there's somebody who's to blame for not enough housing, it is Doss Williams, because he's been championing other things. And now he is saying this. He needs to be honest with himself and honest with Nick Welsh, with Jerry Roberts, with all of us and the public, and stop trying to treat us like we're idiots, because we've been here. We've watched all of this happen. It's a multitude of reasons why we're in the housing situation. But if you want to go down the road that we have this like moral problem that we need to own up to, then he needs to look in the mirror, because nobody has been making more decisions in this community from an elected position than him.
Well, just, I hate to
20
do
years.
this. He did say, when he said that, at least on Thursday, he was including himself as, part of the environmental hypocrisy. He was not putting himself above that. So, in a certain way, I mean, Doss has been sort of in the shock troops of the slow growth, no growth, environmental mafia for much of his, career. And so who else in a better position to say, see, I'm wrong? So he has some credibility, but the problem is how, again, if you want everybody to build housing, which I think we do need to do, we need assurances that the housing is going to go to people who are actually the teachers and the firefighters and the people for whom it is allegedly being built, not,
Well, and the other
second
thing,
homes.
can we just drop the I am a savior talk? I mean, that just on a personal level, it's so annoying. And, every Democrat in the world gets upset when Mike Pence or somebody in the Republican side, tries to bring, all of these religious, spiritual values into it. But when, this guy does it, it's all okay with everybody. But it just, you hit the nail on the head with that one, Nick. I got to say, that was a really good column. And it is personally annoying. As a policy matter, it's annoying. And politically, I think what's going on, and I'll just throw this out here, is that with the cannabis issue, he lost all moral authority as an office holder. Now he's trying to get it back with the housing issue, which also enables him to change the subject, say cannabis is old news, whatever. But boy, you guys are both right. Change your tune, will you, pal? All right, Josh, you got Brian Kernell on the podcast ranting about the Garden Street Hotel thing. Callie, what are you working on? What do you got coming up?
I have a pretty busy weekend. I am going to help restore some trails at Schofield Park tomorrow morning
Fun.
for our Earth Day issue, to learn more about, storm restoration and how they do that. So I'm excited for that. I'm not excited to wake up at 7:30, but it should be
7:30.
cool.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of trees down there, among other things. So there's a lot of work. Henry likes to go to Schofield Park, and that's a very rude thing to be doing. Nick, what do you got going beside your secret interview that kept
Is it with Oprah?
joining?
Is it Oprah?
But I tell you what, yesterday I got to interview Chubby Checker. Let's do the twist like we did last summer.
Chubby
Oh,
Checker
wow.
is still alive?
Chubby Checker is not just alive, he is cooking and cooking with gas. That man can blow the doors off. He's
Did you get
81
something?
years old, man.
How
and
old is he? How old is he?
81. 9
Oh,
times
eight-
9.
8 years younger than Dianne Feinstein. All right.
Oh my God. That guy, he's 81 going on 25.
Callie, do you know who Chubby Checker is?
I will be honest that I didn't until Nick first brought up that he was interviewing him, and it was a big deal. And I was like, who is this person?
Did Nick demonstrate the twist?
Okay.
I
here's
wish he
how
had.
Here's how Chubby Checker describes how the twist is done. With one foot, you're putting out a cigarette, you're rubbing out a cigarette With the other, you're taking a towel and drying off your butt. And that is how you do the twist.
I think we need a visual demonstration.
And I have to say, that is the best description of a dance I think I've ever heard.
All right, is Chubby gonna be a cover? Is he a cover?
But, you know, we may.
Or is he an Earth Day story?
He's coming later.
All right,
We have
He's
to figure that
performing,
out.
right? He's performing. Is that why?
Yeah.
all right, okay, well, we better leave it there because, it's gonna be all downhill for sure. Josh Molina, Callie Fausey, and Nick Welsh. Thank you all for joining us, for taking the time. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time on Newsmakers.